Emotional intelligence helps boost other skills. Emotional intelligence, as explained by Daniel Goleman, is the knack of recognizing, understanding, and managing our own emotions and those of others. It's a vital skill that can have a profound impact on our personal and professional lives, often more so than our IQ. To get a grip on this concept, let's look at an example. Goleman talks about the work of psychologist Albert Bandura, who discovered that our abilities aren't set in stone. Instead, they depend on how we see and judge them. For instance, if we're too hard on ourselves after a failure, we might find it harder to bounce back and succeed next time. This is where emotional intelligence steps in. By recognizing and managing our emotions, we can keep a positive outlook and resilience in the face of failure, which can boost our performance and skills. Emotional intelligence isn't about bottling up or dodging negative emotions like anxiety or sadness. Instead, it's about understanding and managing these emotions effectively. For instance, unchecked anxiety can mess with our thinking abilities and performance. But when we recognize and manage our anxiety, we can turn it into a source of motivation to tackle challenges and reach our goals. Goleman pinpoints 5 main elements of emotional intelligence. 1. Self-awareness. Spotting our own emotions and understanding how they influence our thoughts and actions. 2. Self-regulation. Keeping our emotions and impulses in check and adapting to shifting situations. 3. Motivation. Using our emotions to stay upbeat, take the lead, and strive to reach our goals. 4. Empathy. Grasping the emotions of others and reacting appropriately. 5. Social skills. Building and keeping healthy relationships and navigating social circles. The great news, as Goleman highlights, is that we all have the potential to develop and enhance our emotional intelligence. Our evolutionary past has given us the basic people skills needed for emotional intelligence. It's up to us to nurture these skills and put them to use in our everyday lives. In a nutshell, emotional intelligence is a crucial skill that can boost our personal and professional lives. By recognizing, understanding, and managing our emotions, we can keep a positive attitude, forge strong relationships, and reach our goals. Point 2. Our actions are often driven by our emotions. In the realm of decision-making, emotions play a pivotal role. They're the driving force behind our actions, the spark that ignites our behaviors. To fully grasp this, let's take a peek inside our brain and see how it works. Our brain is like a complex machine with different parts handling different tasks. Take the prefrontal cortex, for example. It's like the brain's emotional thermostat, keeping our feelings in check and turning down the heat when things get too intense. But sometimes, our emotions get the better of us, leading us to act on impulse. This is what we call an emotional hijack. Now, there's a key player in this emotional hijack: the amygdala. Nestled within the brain's limbic system, the amygdala is like our personal alarm system. It rings the bell when we're scared, hurt, or angry, ensuring we react swiftly to potential dangers. In the past, brain experts thought that the neocortex, the part of the brain in charge of complex thinking, was the first to process signals from our senses before passing them on to the limbic system. But recent research has shown that the amygdala gets these signals directly. This means our emotional reactions can be instant, skipping the neocortex's rational analysis. The amygdala also stores our emotional memories. So, if we face a situation that reminds us of a past traumatic event, the amygdala sounds the alarm, sparking an emotional reaction. For instance, someone who narrowly escaped a car accident might feel a rush of fear and anxiety when crossing the street, even if there's no immediate danger. But this link between emotions and situations isn't always negative. We can use it to our advantage. For example, by tying new vocabulary words to emotional examples, we can remember them better. However, it's worth noting that these emotional reactions can sometimes be out of date or misplaced. A war veteran, for example, might react to fireworks as if they were real explosions. This happens because the amygdala is linking the loud noise to past traumatic experiences. While emotions can sometimes muddle our thinking, they're crucial for rational decision-making. Without emotions, we'd have no preferences or values to guide our choices. Imagine trying to pick a restaurant without any emotional preference. It would be an endless comparison of different places. In a nutshell, emotions are key players in our actions and decisions. They give us the push to act, steering our behaviors based on our past experiences and values. By understanding this, we can better manage our emotions and make more informed decisions. Point 3. Don't ignore bad feelings. Learn how to deal with them. Let's talk about emotions, particularly the ones we often label as bad: anger, anxiety, and sadness. But here's the thing: these emotions aren't necessarily bad. They're just emotions, and we all experience them. The key is not to push them away or ignore them, but to handle them in a healthy way. Take anger, for instance. We've all been there, fuming over a rude cashier or a discourteous taxi driver. But the more we dwell on these triggers, the angrier we get. And if we let that anger out, it often just makes us feel worse, unless it's directed at the person who caused it, which can give us a sense of revenge. So, what's a better way to deal with anger? Well, it's about changing our perspective. Let's say someone at the gym insults you. You're naturally going to be upset. But what if you later find out that person is going through a tough time? You'd probably feel less angry, right? That's the power of empathy and understanding. And if you're already angry, try to distance yourself from whatever's causing it. Do something else to distract your mind. This can help break the cycle of anger and give you back control over your emotions. Now let's talk about anxiety. The first step is to figure out what's causing it. Once you know what's worrying you, you can challenge those worries logically. Think about how likely the thing you're worried about is to happen, what you can do to prevent it, and whether worrying is actually helping. You can also prepare positive images in your mind to replace your worries. For example, if you're anxious about an upcoming event, imagine something fun you'll do afterward to calm yourself down. Sadness can be a tough one to handle. It's easy to fall into habits like isolating ourselves, eating sweets, or drinking, but these often just make us feel worse. Instead, try to focus on small victories. Read a chapter of a book you love or fix something that's been broken. These small wins can lift your mood and give you a sense of control. Another great way to deal with sadness is to volunteer or reassess what's causing your sadness from a different perspective. Volunteering can be especially helpful because it shifts your focus from your own problems to helping others, which can give you a sense of purpose and fulfillment. In a nutshell, dealing with negative emotions is all about acknowledging them, understanding what triggers them, and finding healthy ways to cope. By doing this, we can turn these emotions from hurdles into opportunities for personal growth and emotional intelligence. Point 4. Use criticism as a way to improve, not as a reason to argue. Criticism can feel like a punch in the gut. It's easy to see it as a personal attack, especially when it's about who we are, not just what we do. Imagine your partner saying, "You're always so lazy." That stings, right? Our instinct is to either fight back or shut down, but neither response is helpful. But what if we could see criticism differently? What if we could use it as a tool to build bridges, not walls? First, let's rethink how we perceive criticism. When we feel attacked, we might think the other person is always nagging or complaining. But is that really the case? Or is it just how we feel because we're on the defensive? Instead of playing the victim, we can use a different approach to criticism. Let's call it the XYZ method. It goes like this: when you do X, it makes me feel Y. I'd prefer if you did Z instead. This way, we're focusing on the action, not the person. It's easier to swallow that way. Next, let's remember that when we're upset by criticism, it's because the issue matters to us. It's not about the other person trying to hurt us. If your partner criticizes you, it's probably because they want to make things better, not worse. If we can stay cool and show we're listening, it can help calm things down. It's also a good idea to take breaks during tough talks to keep our emotions in check. And practice these techniques in less crucial chats, so they become second nature. Now let's think about the workplace. Emotional smarts are key to a productive environment. Bias, stress, and rudeness can all mess with decision-making and workflow. To foster improvement, managers need to give feedback in a helpful way. This means clearly explaining what the person did right or wrong, suggesting ways to improve, and giving the criticism one-on-one to avoid confusion. If done right, criticism can become a tool for building bridges, not walls. So, let's change our view of criticism. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. Handled right, it can be a powerful tool for growth and connection. Point 5. Emotional intelligence is key for a long, healthy life. Emotional intelligence, as explained by Daniel Goleman, is our ability to identify, comprehend, and control our emotions and those of others. It's a key part of our overall health, and according to Goleman, it's essential for our long-term survival. Let's delve into why emotional intelligence is so crucial. First, let's consider the effect of negative emotions on our health. Goleman points out that persistent anger is one of the most harmful emotions for our heart. While scientists are still debating whether chronic anger directly causes heart disease or just worsens existing conditions, the link between the two is undeniable. Programs designed to lessen anger have been proven to significantly lower the risk of heart disease. For example, people who have learned to control their anger effectively have been shown to decrease the chance of a second heart attack by 44%. But it's not just anger that's a health hazard. Goleman also talks about the effects of fear and anxiety, especially in women. These emotions were common in individuals who had a second heart attack. Among male students, anxiety has been associated with increased alcohol and drug use. Interestingly, even boredom, another negative emotion, can lead to substance abuse, as people may use alcohol or drugs to relieve their restlessness. Depression, marked by intense sadness, may not directly increase the risk of diseases, but it can significantly slow down recovery. Goleman gives the example of patients with hip fractures, where those who were in good spirits were able to leave the hospital a week earlier than those suffering from depression. Depression can also lead to other health problems like eating disorders and alcoholism. Goleman also emphasizes the serious health risk of social isolation, which can be even more harmful than smoking. This is particularly true for men, who are more deeply affected by isolation. Women, however, may not need as many friends to feel supported, as their relationships are often deeper and more meaningful. On the other hand, positive emotions can have a beneficial effect on our health. Optimists, for instance, are more likely to exercise and less likely to engage in harmful habits like smoking or drinking. A higher level of hope can also lead to a better state of health. Goleman gives the example of paralyzed patients, where those with a positive outlook were able to regain more mobility than those who were discouraged. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is not just a useful skill to have, it's a vital necessity for our mental and physical health. By identifying and controlling our emotions effectively, we can lower the risk of various health problems and improve our overall health. This is why Goleman argues that emotional intelligence can be more important than IQ when it comes to our long-term survival. Point 6. What happens in childhood affects our brain development. In Daniel Goleman's exploration of emotional intelligence, he delves into the profound influence of early life experiences on our brain's development. Think of the brain as a piece of clay, constantly being shaped and reshaped by the experiences it goes through. Let's take a look at the first few years of a child's life. These are the golden years for developing emotional intelligence because the brain is like a sponge, soaking up everything around it. The experiences a child has during this time, especially those involving understanding, care, and teamwork, can significantly mold the brain's pathways responsible for these emotions. Parents, you're the artists shaping this clay. Your emotional state can directly color your child's emotions. Even at 3 months old, babies can pick up on and reflect their parents' emotions. If a parent is often down in the dumps, the child might start showing signs of sadness too. Emotional interaction is also crucial for babies. If a baby expresses a feeling and gets no response, they might eventually stop expressing their feelings altogether. The feedback they get should match their emotions and be imaginative. For example, if a baby is all smiles, parents can respond with a happy voice or a gentle jiggle to show they understand. Goleman also points out the harmful effects of neglect on a child's emotional growth. Neglect can plant seeds of worthlessness or abandonment, which can hurt more than outright abuse. Kids who experience neglect tend to be less trusting and often struggle in school. But there's a silver lining. Kids who didn't get much empathy early on can find balance through interactions with their friends. Finally, the way a child is brought up has a big impact on their emotional intelligence. Studies show that parents often talk about emotions more with their daughters, while conversations with sons usually focus on anger. This difference in emotional teaching can lead to women placing a high value on good communication in relationships, while men might learn to bottle up their feelings. This shows the need for a more even-handed approach in fostering emotional intelligence in kids, no matter if they're boys or girls. In a nutshell, Goleman's work highlights the importance of early childhood experiences in shaping our brains and emotional intelligence. It underlines the crucial role of parents in fostering these experiences and the need for a balanced approach in teaching emotions to both boys and girls. Point 7. Schools should focus on more than just academics. In Daniel Goleman's perspective, schools need to rethink their role in shaping a child's future. It's not just about academic smarts, but also about emotional smarts. This includes skills like understanding others' feelings, being aware of our own emotions, and managing those emotions effectively. Let's take a look at how schools usually operate. They focus on subjects like math, science, and language arts. A student's success is often judged by their grades in these subjects. But Goleman believes this approach doesn't fully tap into a child's potential. Imagine a student who's a whiz at math, but finds it hard to get along with others. In the usual school setup, this student would be seen as successful because of their high math grades. But Goleman argues that we're not seeing the full picture here. This student's emotional smarts aren't being nurtured. So, what's the solution? Goleman suggests that schools should weave emotional smarts into their curriculum. This could mean using a reading lesson to explore different emotions and perspectives. This way, students aren't just improving their reading skills, but also their emotional smarts. But it's not just about changing the curriculum. Teachers also need to be trained in this new approach. They need to learn how to teach emotional smarts. This could involve attending workshops or taking courses on emotional smarts. Goleman also believes that schools should team up with parents to reinforce these lessons at home. This could mean having parent-teacher meetings or running workshops for parents on emotional smarts. And let's not forget about the different types of smarts. Goleman talks about 7 core types: spatial, kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, and intrapsychic. Each type of smarts is important and should be nurtured in schools. For instance, a student with high spatial smarts could be encouraged to consider a career in architecture. In a nutshell, Goleman's point is that schools should broaden their focus. It's not just about academic smarts, but also about emotional smarts and other types of smarts. This way, students can reach their full potential and become well-rounded individuals. Point 8. Conclusion. Emotional intelligence is a critical factor that can determine success in life. It is not just about being smart or having a high IQ. It's about being aware of your emotions and those of others, and using this awareness to manage yourself and your relationships effectively. Understanding your emotions can help you make better decisions, solve problems, and communicate more effectively. It can also help you manage stress and deal with conflict. On the other hand, understanding others' emotions can help you empathize with them, build stronger relationships, and work more effectively in teams. Emotional intelligence is not something you're born with, but a skill that can be developed. It requires practice and patience, but the rewards are worth it. By improving your emotional intelligence, you can enhance your personal and professional life and ultimately achieve greater success and happiness. Remember, it's not just about how smart you are, but how you are smart. Emotional intelligence can be your secret weapon to a fulfilling and successful life. So, start developing your emotional intelligence today and see the difference it can make in your life.